WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskey. I just love this can, this tin, this container, this Temple Bar, 14-year-old Malbec Cask limited edition came in. Beautifully designed. Every little spot on this is just fabulously done. And even if you look at I got this nice little thing there as a coaster, and even the bottle itself is fabulously designed. 1,000 bottles worldwide. So, Temple Bar, a district in Dublin. I will be there at the end of November. Probably this will be broadcasted after I've been there. Temple Bar, the owner or proprietor and or manager, Tom Clearly, started producing his own or bottling his own whiskey in 2015. I wasn't a great fan of it. There is the Temple Bar Keller cask, which was a hand fill, about 100 euros at the bar. You can actually, you go there at the bar, you go beside the bar. I was there recently. Almost 2 years ago. Wow. You can actually go to this tiny little shop, and they do tastings there and so on. And you can actually you could back then have your own little hand fill back then. This was 13 years in an old ex-bourbon cask, unfortunately. I'll come to that in a moment. It's 43%. There's 1,000 bottles of this worldwide. There isn't even a whiskey-based number for it yet. And what happened is there's a guy who works for the Temple Bar named Roberto Appendino. And he had connections to Argentina. And in Argentina, they actually have this Malbec, which is a very dark, rich, deep, purple type of grape. And he actually had connections, and so they brought back a cask from the Bodega Bianchi. And they filled up their 13-year-old Irish whiskey into the cask, let it finish for 1 year, and ta-da! 99 euros and 90 cents, so 100 euros, about $120. I don't even think it's going to make it to the States, but who knows? Let's see what happens. And now a little bit of a history lesson. This grape, the Malbec grape, was actually the primary grape used in France originally. Still today, if you have a Bordeaux wine, one of the 6 grape types that are allowed to be used in the Bordeaux is still, up until today, the Malbec. Now, there was a very, very heavy frost in 1956, and it killed most of the different wine, the grapes, the grapevines. I got it. Most of the grapevines. And so instead of replacing them with Malbec again, which were very susceptible to different types of mildew, and there's a very difficult grape actually to grow in France, they replaced it with Merlot. I'm not a big fan of Merlot. Many people like Merlot, but I don't. It's just like, ooh, look, it's Merlot, something else. Give me a Cabernet Sauvignon any day of the week. Okay, so instead they brought this grapevine to Argentina. In Argentina, because of the Andes and so on, very dry, very nice climate to grow in, and this grape actually just thrives there. And so most of the different grapes and also most of the different wines that come out of Argentina might actually have some Malbec in them. M-A-L-B-E-G. Now, I have a question. If you bring a cask from Argentina with red wine, what is the oak? Is it American oak? Is it European oak? Is it South American oak? I don't know. Is it even oak? I assume it is. Now, Ireland doesn't need to use oak. Scotland would, so I'm not really sure. It says here on the back, so this single malt has been matured in bourbon cask and then finished in the Argentinian Malbec cask, creating a unique flavor profile. The Malbec casks were carefully selected by the renowned Bianchi family of vineyard and the highly regarded Mendoza region of Argentina, home to some of the highest altitude vineyards in the world. And this unique landscape has the ideal microclimate and terroir for growing Malbec grapes, from which the Bianchi family have produced many internationally acclaimed award-winning wines, which I can really believe. So I think there were a total of vatting or mixing of about 4 to 5 casks. If there's 1,000 bottles at 43%, you're probably going to get 200 bottles, maybe 250 out of a cask. Depends on how much the angels actually took from them. It also depends on the size of the casks, actually. I know that in Germany we use a barrique. A barrique is more of a 220, 240 liter. They're a little bit shorter than the normal bourbon barrels, but they have more of a belly type of moment in there and a little bit more actually volume. So I don't know. I have no idea. If anyone's out there much smarter than I am, I'm sure there's millions of you. What type of wood do they use in the Argentinian wine industry for the casks? All right, so had a little bit of time to set. What I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it to something which is also a little bit of an exotic type of whiskey here in the Irish whiskey world, and that's Jack Ryan. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. Now this is Jack Ryan, and this is not 14 years old. This is only 10 years old, but it is also from the same principle of the system. They don't have their own distillery. They buy cask, probably from Cooley. They put them in something else, in this case in Calvados, and then they actually sell it to the public. All right, so this is the Tumavara, a 10-year-old from the Chateau de Breuil, finished in Calvados casks. This is finished in a Malbec cask, 14 years old. Now, this is also a little bit more expensive. It runs, I think, around 50 to 60 euros, which I thought was a lot for a 10-year-old, but hey, what we don't do for our YouTube channels, right? All right, so the first thing on the nose, what I get is that typical old, tired Irish cask moment. I'm so looking forward to all the new distilleries finally putting out their stuff. Well, West Cork has to work on it. Their single malt from Pogue wasn't mine. Wasn't something I liked. But Pierce Lyons, their 5-year-old, was great. Teeling, their single pot still was not. It was just too young. So I need something a little bit older there. All right, what I do get is I get rhubarb. It's not a normal note that I've had a lot, but this is rhubarb. This is a little bit of a currant, a black currant. And what I get is a not yet ripe raspberry. Cheers. Mm. 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 The finish is just really old. For me, old sneakers. Tired, worn out. Almost a tiny little bit of a rottenness of the cask coming through. I think it's Eric Waite who prides himself on being able to have the cork, identifying a wine that has been corked. He is a master sommelier in the wine industry. He's now a whiskey ambassador as well, has done some of his certificates in Scotland and so on. Bravo, bravo, bravo. And he prides himself on being able to detect wines that have corked before many other people. I think I have the gift or the curse of detecting old, tired casks. And this really does have it. What's missing is the red wine. I was hoping, I've had many whiskeys finish in the great red wine, and you get a lot of this astringency. You get a lot of fruitiness, and it's just not really coming through. I would like to have this and something else to cap that, and then let the finish go on. Didn't work in this case, by the way. Over here, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Same story, just in green. Calvados is a wine spirit, and it's very sweet. And the whole time the sweetness tries to disguise that old tired cask moment, but the finished, it just loses out. Calvados goes, okay, I've done my job, and that old cask finish just keeps on going, shining through, and that's really, really unfortunate. I'm going to give this actually a D+. I want to give it a C Okay, 1, why haven't you bought it? B, buy it. C, you can buy it if you want to. D, don't buy it. F, why was it even made? Now, I want to give it a C because I want to say, hey, if you want to buy it because of the nice packaging, go ahead. But the whiskey itself really doesn't do it for me in any form whatsoever. Now, if you want a nice ornament, go ahead, spend €100 for this. Why not? And that's my question of the day. What is the most beautifully designed bottle and or can, tin, box? I'm sure many of you are going to think of Highland Park with those beautiful, beautiful bottles with ice and fire and so on, whatever they were back then. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think are some of the most beautiful design bottles? I know my mom would want to keep this and have this in her kitchen just because of that Moulin Rouge or whatever it's called design here. This old 1920s type of look and feel and so on. Excellently done. A sublime fusion. They just use the same words over and over again of the finest Argentinian Malbec cask with the best Irish single malt whiskey. Yeah. All right. I do love this. And what was even better, I wanted to point out, is they have this nice little styrofoam thing, so the bottle goes in here, it fits in there so it doesn't hit against the tin walls here. Well done, well designed. The people here working on the design of this whiskey, you should get a raise. The people who selected these casks to be used for this finish should not get their raise, in my personal opinion. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from my viewpoint as an American that lives here in Germany. All right, thank you very much. I gave it a D and an F for the value for money, so sorry there. Also, this is not something I can recommend with a Calvados unless you really want to try something very, very special. It's not as bad, but still it's not what I'm looking for there. All right, so if you want something very, very nice, which is a 14-year-old, go for this. For Cullen, a brand new distillery here, it's called the Power Scouts Distillery in the south of Dublin, and they have now hired the master distiller, which used to work for Cooley. His name is Noel Sweeney. He brought casks with him. They bought them, and they filled them up under the new name, Power Scout, and they used the word for Cullen. And this is a 14-year-old single malt Irish whiskey, which is delicious. Very, very nice. All right, WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American. What is the best looking bottle and or tin design you know of? Thank you very much for watching. All the best. Bye-bye.